Well, here in Washington State, the path to equality has been a long one, even as the arc of justice bends to justice. For years, bills granting domestic partner rights have been introduced and then died in the legislature. But in 2007, a tragic accident turned the legislative tide. That January, a domestic partner rights bill was once again introduced by Senator Ed Murray and came up for hearing in the Senate. Seated at the microphone in front of the committee was Charlene Strong from Seattle. Only 1 month before, just 1 month, during torrential December rain, a downpour flooded the basement office in the home she shared with her partner, Kate Fleming. And despite Charlene's efforts to save Kate, she could not reach her in those rapidly rising waters. By the time Kate was taken from the house and taken to Harborview Hospital, she was near death. As Kate lay dying in the emergency room, apologetic hospital personnel, citing state law, said they could not allow Charlene into the treatment area because she was not a family member. The following day, the grief-stricken Charlene went to the funeral home to make arrangements for Kate's funeral and her memorial. She was accompanied by Kate's mother. There, however, the funeral director would only direct his questions and comments to Kate's mother. He too cited state law, saying that only a family member could make decisions for the disposition of a person's remains. Charlene finished that heartbreaking testimony, and there was not a dry eye in that hearing room that morning. Weeks later, the bill came to the floor of the Senate for debate. Near the end of that debate, Senator Dale Brandlin from Whatcom County, a conservative senator who had consistently opposed domestic partner rights, stood to announce that he was voting for the domestic partner bill because he had come to recognize that the extension of rights to all committed couples was the moral, the right thing to do. Senator Brandlin's vote that day changed state history. The first domestic partner bill was passed by the Senate and the House and signed in a very jubilant signing ceremony by the governor. Now, that 2007 law meant that domestic partners were granted health care facility visitation rights, the ability to informed consent for health care, and the right to control disposition of a partner's remains. It meant that unmarried senior citizens could be with the love of their life in their later lives without losing a deceased partner's retirement benefit. It provided partners and families of public employees a measure of economic safety by allowing them to participate in the public employee benefits program. It also affirmed the state's recognition that registered domestic partnerships are a safety net the state needs to provide to all of those unable by law to marry. Now, the next year, 2008, further rights were added to the domestic partner law, including community property rights. Dissolution of marriage requirements were applied equally to registered domestic partners, including child support and parenting plan obligations. These are critical protections to families. This year, 2009, Senate Bill 5688 completed the granting of rights to domestic partners, and 5688 declared the intent of the legislature that for all purposes under state law, registered domestic partners are to be treated in the same way as married spouses. And in our state's legal code, the Revised Code of Washington, language such as spouse, married, widow, widower, husband, wife apply equally to registered domestic partners. Today we have more than 12,000 registered domestic partners in Washington, both same-sex and unmarried heterosexual partners. Senate Bill 5688 ensures that their families will receive the hundreds of protections granted to their neighbors' families with the cost of a $55 marriage license and a simple wedding ceremony. And that brings us to today. Opponents of Senate Bill 5688 challenged the action of the legislature and the governor and gathered signatures to put referendum 71 on the ballot. For Washington State's registered domestic partners, the 12,000 of them and their families, a lot is at stake in this. Now, as you receive your ballot, you may find it counterintuitive to vote for a referendum brought by opponents of equal rights. But your approved vote affirms those rights. Disapprove denies those equal rights. I personally believe that approval of referendum 71 is the right, the moral thing to do. It is one more way to support all Washington families and to continue standing on the side of love.